completed her fifth marathon. Fifth half marathon with team and training at the Nike Women's Marathon this last year. And your goal was to raise $25,000.
Didn't quite make it.
And it was just about there. And I'm rounding up. Yeah, so did 5 different events and has an incredible story that she'd like to share with us today as well.
The other part of the 5 was I turned 75 also. 5 events and 25,000. Doesn't that sound good? But some of you don't know about Superman, and that's what I'm talking about today. Is my husband was a patient honoree for 3 years, and he got tagged Superman. So I thought in telling my story, I should maybe explain that to you so you sort of know what the heck is Superman. So, okay, this is what happened. I have to read this because I can't. Otherwise, I'll get off on a tangent. So here we go. Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming. I once was in your place, and I am delighted with what's happened to my life since 2007 because of team training. Because I sat just like you and thought, could I do this? I only have done 5Ks. Could I really do this? And you can really do it. So I just commend you. I thank you for being here. Extra big thank you to all those people that are doing the events. You're going to put lots of time in. You're going to have lots of sweat. You're going to have lots of... It's going to be busy, 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 but it's going to be so worth it when you cross the finish line. And all the monies that you can use. You've already heard that we've benefited from some of the monies. Paul had 2 of the cancer drugs that were funded with team and training money, so I think that's great. Okay, so this is my story, why I got involved with team and training. I was blessed to have done 5 Nike half marathons, raised over almost $25,000. My kids took, you get a medal every time you cross the finish line at Nike. I love it. It's all wrapped up in a nice little green box. And they took my other 4 medals and put them on a chain for me, and it says, our marathon mom rocks. So it all started in April of 2007. Paul had just turned 72, and by the way, here's a guy that never took high blood pressure pills, never took cholesterol, nothing. The guy was healthy. All of a sudden now he has his yearly physical, and his labs come back at his white count at 117,000. Normal is 4 to 10,000. So they did more tests. They told us it was leukemia, but they didn't know what kind and how to treat him, so they did a bone marrow, and that showed that he had CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. They started Paul immediately on chemo, and for the next 3 years he had 50 doses of chemo. He spent a lot of time at St. Al's Cancer Care. The nurses started to call him Superman because he would come in with a smile. He'd be so upbeat, he'd never complain, and they really looked forward to his coming in for his labs and his chemo and his platelets. So my daughter heard about that, and she went and got him a Superman t-shirt. And Paul promptly wore that shirt. He wore it all the time. He wore it to the meetings, he wore it to everything. And he said, when I'm buried, I want to be buried in it. So we did bury him in his Superman shirt. Here's his Superman shirt. So that's where Superman came from. My daughter got the shirt. And then team and training, because he was a patient honoree, they gave him the hat. So that's how it all started. Then 2 years into that chemo, there was no remission. His labs wouldn't stay normal. So they sent us out to the Hutchinson Institute in Seattle and also to the Oregon Health Institute in Oregon. So we went to both those places, and we listened to these doctors tell us that he needed a stem cell transplant because he wasn't making new cells, and the cancer cells were taking over, and the chemo wasn't doing it. So the only thing that would help him would be a stem cell transplant. So he sits there and he listens to the docs tell him that you're not going to feel very good. It's going to take 4 months in Seattle. You're almost 75. Your life expectancy is not going to be good. And they just said it isn't a good thing. If you were 45, maybe, but you're almost 75. So Paul said, nope, I don't want it. What if I don't do it? What would be the chance? What is my life expectancy? And they said about a year. And he made a year after that. I don't know, doctors sometimes are right. Anyway, okay, so, let's see now. So, he went home and he updated his bucket list. He updated his funeral arrangements, and he said, I'm going to just keep on living one day at a time. This is what he would say about his journey with cancer. He'd say, take it one day at a time, enjoy the moments, and be positive, and connect with family and friends. And honestly, that is what he did. Paul was a patient honoree for 3 years. He loved to come to the meetings. He loved to wear his shirt. He loved to wear his hat. He loved to tell his story. He loved to tell people about his cancer, and he loved to tell them, to encourage them, don't give up. And if you do have, I mean, we do. He lost his wife, and I lost my husband. There are losses. There are going to be casualties, but more people are going to be helped because of what we're doing, and that's the thing we got to hold on to. So he also came out to San Francisco with me 3 years, met me at the finish line. He was so happy to do this. And one thing on his bucket list was to watch his daughter, our granddaughter Chelsea. She was 21 years old playing college soccer up in Bismarck, North Dakota. He wanted to go up there and see her play, so we went up and we watched her play 3 games, and she won them, and she was so happy. And here's the picture of her papa and her. I'm going to pass this around here. Anyway, he loved doing that for her, and she wanted to do team and training with me, but couldn't because she had college soccer games. Well, last year she was done, so guess what she did? She joined me out at Nike, and she ran the Nike with me. Oh, much faster than me, though. I said, my daughter came out with us, and I said, you're going to have to wait for me because I'm not coming in at under 2 hours. So. Okay, so this is what I also want to tell you. After we did that event, my daughter came with me. She went to the pasta dinner with us. She just got involved with the group. We got all done doing Nike, and Gretchen, my daughter, came up to me and said, Mom, I want to get involved. I want to do this. It just got into her, and she said, when can we do it again? Because she teaches school. My daughter, how are we going to do this? So we're looking at doing Tinkerbell next January, if we can work it out with her schedules. And I said, well, are you willing to fundraise? Because I said, you'll never get in if you don't fundraise. And, well, we could do that. So anyway, see, the good that we do by spreading that enthusiasm is awesome. So now I got a daughter that wants to do it. So, all right, now, TNT has supported my journey. They've supported Paul, the encouragement that they gave me when he died. Team and training people brought me food. They brought me cards. They just supported me through this. And February 8th of this year is the 2-year anniversary of Paul's passing. I was in Maui with my sister, who lost her husband 3 weeks before mine died, and of the same cancer. And he was 10 years younger. So we had a mass said for Paul. We attended that mass, and then we went out to have a caramel roll at Paul's favorite spot in Maui. He and I had been there 5 times, and he found that bakery immediately. Delicious caramel rolls, so that's how we celebrated. We went out and we just celebrated, and Muggs and I talked together and shared. And this is what I'm learning now in the death of Paul, is that I want his memory to keep going. My kids, we've got pictures all over the place. My grandkids, we talk about things that we've done together, and it's made a big difference in the grieving process for me. And then while we were in Maui, my friend Mary Breckenridge, who I met in Team and Training in 2007, her and I did 3 events together. We trained together. We never missed a training. We just were so faithful. Well, she is in Maui, so her and I decided to do the Run with the Whale race out there. So we did. And also Chris Jackson. How many of you might have known Chris Jackson? She did 2007 Nike. Chris also lives in Maui. And so Chris, Mary, and I did the Run with the Whales race out there. And then after the event, I met Chris's husband. And Chris's husband comes up to me and he says, I knew Paul. We were in the same morning prayer group that he was in. And he was just a great guy, and I thought, oh my goodness, what a small world. Then I go to the condo that we're staying at, and my sister's friend, I'm talking to them, and one of the guys says to me, he was talking about Paul, and I said, what insurance company did he work for? And I told him, well, that guy worked for the same insurance company that my Paul worked for. So, and then he also knew Paul. So the world just gets smaller, and I keep meeting people that knew my Paul and talked so favorably about him, and it just keeps the memory alive, and the goodness, and then the camaraderie from Team and Training has been fabulous too. So this is what I've learned to celebrate Paul's life. I'm grateful for the 48 years that we had together. We used to spend a lot of time talking about what I was going to do when he left me, and I'd say, Paul, I just can't do this. I just can't do this. And he'd say, oh yes you can. Oh yes you will. And then he'd say, you're just going to take it one day at a time. And the other thing he used to do is every year we'd watch It's a Wonderful Life, and we put that on again, and we watch that, and he would say, It's a Wonderful Life. There's going to be good, there's going to be bad, but we're going to pick the good out of all of this. So we did. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your support. You people have supported me at Team and Training, believe me. And this is what I have on my shirt in case you didn't see it. All the very best in your race. Whoever said that before, I say it again, that it will be a lifetime experience. You will be so happy you did it. So thank you.